Hey everyone, Mr. Gray 3IS here, and I am back with another video. It's a little bit windy outside today, so I hope my microphone can kind of combat that wind nicely. I'm going to be in the garage a little bit today for this video, so that will help too. But it's a beautiful sunny day out, great day for an install video. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to install a front lip. As you can tell, mine kind of needs it. If you watched my last video, I showed you how to paint a front lip. And one of the two front lips I painted are going to be going on the car today. And that chunk will no longer be there, thankfully. And just like my side skirt install video, I'm going to be starting from a lipless surface, like from scratch. So I'm going to get my car up on some ramps and jack the front up a little bit and take this front lip off so I can start with no lip. All right, as you might be able to tell, I have it jacked up. And if you're ever going to work on your car while it's jacked up, even if you're right under the front lip, please use jack stands. It could save your life. So always be precautious than regretful. But anyways, I have it up and in the air. This is gonna make my front lip way easier to work with. If you have a stock ride height Lexus, you might be able to crawl under there, maybe just by jacking it up a little bit or driving it on your driveway somehow. But for me, it is quite impossible to work under it when it is on the ground. So not only do I have it on the ramps, but I jacked it up a little bit because it's just going to be a breeze to work on like this. And also it'll be easy to show you how to do everything. So for me, I'm going to take off this front lip and I'll get started on showing you how to install a new one, or maybe in your case, your first one. All right, so if you've ever wondered what my car looks like without a front lip and monster truck fitment, here you go. Front lipless Gray 3IS. Funky. Okay, so to get started on these beautiful new pieces, ooh, they cleaned up real nice, or I should say dried up. They are already ceramic coated, of course. So the few holes on them are just where I mounted them on the wood that I had them set on to paint. So don't worry about these, but you can utilize one of those for this next step if you'd like. But the next step is to pick some spots along the mounting points of the front lip where you would like to drill some holes and where you'd like to mount it from. All right, as you might be able to tell from all these shavings, I went ahead and drilled the holes that I usually drill. I do one here, and it's kind of hard to tell because I did use a hole right there when painting, but one here, so 3 on this piece, and same with this, so 1 on that part and 2 there, and then I do 3 along this middle section, so 1, 2, 3. And these holes are decent size. They're 5/16 holes, and what I do with these holes is I pretty much make them the size of just a tiny bit smaller than the washer that I'm going to be using, because what I'm going to do is drill a tinier hole through this hole into the bumper once I have the lip lined up, and that will give me some wiggle room with this front lip to get it lined up on the bumper just how I want it. And if this hole was the same size as the self-tapping screw I'm going to use, then once I have it drilled, there's no movement allowed. You do want some room for adjustment just in case, so that's why I use a 5/16 drill bit to drill a hole, and then I will use these self-tapping screws to go like this and hold it into the bumper. All right, so like I just stated, the next step is to go ahead and put the front lip up against the car, whether you want to use a jack to hold it up or some tape or maybe a box or something, but kind of find a rough space to hold it up against the car. And that's when you're going to use those bigger size holes that you just drilled to go ahead and use a smaller drill bit and drill through them, which pretty much acts as a pilot hole for your self-tapping screws. And for holding the lip on, I 100% recommend self-tapping screws. And what that means is the front of the screw almost acts like a drill bit in itself, and then it feeds the rest of the screw up in it. And what that does is it prevents the plastic that you're drilling in from cracking or from making a pretty much just a bad connection with these threads. So the point of drilling that smaller pilot hole is just so this doesn't kind of run around over where you're trying to drill it into. The point of these is to pretty much be able to just put a drill in it and drill them in, and it will create its own hole for the threads. But the pilot hole will make this a lot easier to get these into the bumper. So in my case, you might be able to tell already, I do already have holes under the bumper because I have had a front lip on it already. This is going to act as my after I've drilled the pilot hole step. So those are going to act as my pilot holes because they are, well, my pilot holes. And then from here, all you got to do is loosely attach your front lip with the self-tapping screws. So if I hop under here, you can see I got my screws loosely in. There's one there, and well, you get the gist. And it is right now loose, and that is good because you want to get the fitment just perfect. There are, on my lip at least, kind of body lines that fit with the body lines of my front bumper. Excuse my car, it is a little bit dirty, but once you have those body lines all lined up nicely, you can go ahead and tighten the rest of your self-tapping screws. And please use a screwdriver and hand tighten the screws if you weren't already. I was using an electric ratchet, but please hand tighten the last little bit of the screws with a hand turning screwdriver because you can feel how tight they are. Plastic is very easy to strip, and you want to stop once you feel it is tight. So once you go ahead and tighten the screws all up and the fitment's looking perfect, we're ready to pretty much wrap up the front lip install. And even though it's loose, it is looking real good. I'm a big fan of there not being a chunk taken out right there. It kind of looks good. And a 3-piece lip is a little bit nicer to install because you can put on each piece at a time. And not only is it easier to install, but it's kind of easier to adjust the fitment of each piece as you install it because you can adjust it where you like it, tighten it down, and then you can attach each part of the lip right there. But I got this all tight. The lip itself is one piece right now, and it's time to hand tighten the rest of the screws under here. All right, it is all tightened down. The gloss on it is crazy. That clear coat I use is A1. So if you haven't seen my last video where I painted this lip and showed you how to paint something, definitely go check it out. It works very well, especially if you're paint matching. As you can tell, it is definitely paint matched very well too. Oh, it is super glossy. Let's get a step back. Ooh, it'll look even better when it's on the ground. My favorite part of this front lip is right here where it kind of, it's hard to tell, but it almost shows a little reflection. See that? Oh man, I love it. Pretty easy install, nothing crazy. You just want to take your time with it, line it up nicely. Don't strip the plastic because it's not a huge deal, but you just have to find new holes and make new holes again. So take your time the first time, and I'm going to lower it onto the ground, and I'll get right back with you in half a second. Oh my gosh. That is what I like to see. I feel like my car isn't broken anymore. Wow. Look at that. Well, as you guys can tell, just like painting the front lip, installing a front lip is not as crazy or intimidating as it might seem. I've been told by a couple people that their lips have flown off on the highway or the freeway. So this should prevent that from happening. The even distribution of all of those screws across the front lip and that amount of screws should hold this front lip on perfectly. By the way, those self-tapping screws are 1 inch. So that's about all you should need to protrude into the front bumper enough. But this method seems to be foolproof from when I've used it, and so I highly recommend it. As you guys might be able to tell, it is a beautiful day outside, so I think I'm gonna give my car a wash in just a moment once I end this video. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that on my story. So you kind of have a cool time frame reference with this YouTube video, and if you see it on my Instagram. But other than that, like always, if you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments below. The hardware that I got from Lowe's. You can get it really from any department store, whether it is Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware. They all have the same type of hardware, and it all should work just as perfectly as this one. If you guys want to know how to paint match your parts, like my side skirt and front lip, like I mentioned before in the video, my last video, I showed you how to paint match your parts. If you want to know how to install side skirts, I recently made a video on that too. If you guys want to hit me up on Instagram, that is my Instagram right there at gray_3is. I will post if I break my front lip again. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen again soon. It probably will, unfortunately, but we'll see. The things that tend to take out my front lip are the quick ones that I cannot avoid. I think I do a pretty good job at angling into driveways and stuff like that. So wish me luck. I think this front lip will last a little while. I hope it does. And if it doesn't, I do have a second one identical to this already painted, so that's a little convenient. Other than that, this has been Mr. Gray 3IS. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Walking